freaking believable. Unbelievable. I gotta be honest with you, that game drove me nuts. I cannot believe the Buccaneers lost that game. Wow. I don't even know what to say. Tough one. Man, that was an absolute blazer from Cooch, wasn't it? What a crazy game. The Bulls are bowl bound for the third season in a row. An incredible performance. But listen, we know the competition. They did what they had to do. No more silver linings. No more moral victories. It was put up or shut up time. And boy, did they rise to the occasion.
Fazzy. Yo, these shirts are ridiculous. Shout out to my guy, Jeff Fatinella, Smack Apparel. Go to smackapparel.com. Get you the Vassy Fight Club shirt today. I know you saw him wearing it at the game last night. He hooked me up with one. Right here, baby. Listen, I love doing this show. I can't lie to you guys. Not that I ever would. Just fix my TC hat here. Got to show some love to my guy, Paulie. But I am just so excited to do today's show. There's just so many things for me to talk about when it comes to the Lightning, when it comes to discussion that we're going to have today with Coach Bryan Hodgson, USF men's basketball. I actually recorded it on the show yesterday, live from the arena. So I'm just very excited for today. There's plenty. I'm talking about plenty to get into. I want to hear from you, of course. Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. If you want to join in on the conversation, here is the link. You can join whether you're on your phone, whether you're on your laptop, StreamYard.com/QPMUEPYJS3, or just click on the link because it's a lot easier than doing it yourself. Hope everybody's having a wonderful day, whether you're here in the Tampa Bay area or abroad. It is seemingly getting warmer here in Tampa Bay, so that is a really good thing. Look at our guy DT, another epic win. Cooch is a magician on ice. Jake is a marksman, and Raddysh continues to rip holes in the back of the net, loving every minute. What do we have in store for you today? A lot. We'll start with the game last night. Of course, I was there, and why we need to have a serious discussion about Darren Raddysh. Serious discussion. Also, the $1 million question will be addressed at 12:20 today, unless he gets traded before then. And I will keep an eye on that. Artemi Panarin, would he be a good fit with the Lightning? Everybody keeps talking about the money side of it. Everybody keeps talking about the draft and the trade compensation. Everybody's missing the boat. You're missing the boat when it comes to the trade for Artemi Panarin. Nobody's talking about the number one reason why this would or wouldn't work. And I'm surprised by this. 12:20 today. We'll get into that. 12:30, Coach Bryan Hodgson joins us again. We recorded it yesterday when I was at the arena, so if you see my pink suit, don't be surprised. It was great to catch up with Coach B. Big game tonight against UTSA at the Yuengling Center. Go USFBulls.com. Get there and support our Bulls. 12:50, the latest in the Rays Stadium saga. What was going on today during the meeting with the Hillsborough County Commissioners? I know my guy Evan Klosky was all about it, so we'll brush up on that at 12:50. At 1 o'clock today, we got the news yesterday during the show when we were talking to our guy Ben Pierce about Anthony Cirelli. Just a sad story that our guy Tough Tony had to be pulled from the Olympics because of an apparent shoulder injury. He was replaced by Sam Bennett. And if you guys know, I'm no Panthers fan, but I really like Sam Bennett's game, and I thought he should have been on the team regardless. So last night, after the game, I didn't think it was – press conference was funny. I sat in Ed's seat. So I go and I went to sit in the back, and then I started speaking over Ed, and Coop called me out. I was like, what are you doing sitting in the back? Whatever. We just have fun. But I didn't want to ask him, and I don't think anybody else really wanted to ask him about Tony Cirelli in that press conference. We didn't think it was the right time or place. But I walked out with Jon Cooper yesterday, out of the press conference room into the walkway there, and he and I spoke for it was a minute or two about Anthony Cirelli. So I put that out there. It's gone viral as far as a tweet can go. But we'll talk about that at 1:00 today. What did Jon Cooper have to say to me and only me about the Anthony Cirelli injury and the decision to pull him from the Olympics? Also, a little bit later on at 1:15, we're going to get into the new hire for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the quarterback's coach. And I like what Todd Bowles is doing. It's a last-ditch effort. Again, we are not going to have any more Bowles slander on the timeline here. Forget about it. Support Todd Bowles. He's your coach. That's it. Just support the damn guy. Make the moves. Hopefully he proves us all wrong. I mentioned this last week. And then Erik Erlendsson joins us at 1:30 today, lightninginsider.com. He's going to probably join us live from the arena. The guys are practicing on the ice right now. We just heard the news from the Lightning. It was announced that Anthony Cirelli and Nick Paul are out and will be reevaluated after the Olympic break. Paul injured in overtime in the Stadium Series. Cirelli injured in the first period after that hit by Kastelik. From what we know, the injury to Nick Paul is a shoulder. The injury to Anthony Cirelli is a shoulder injury. Now, another thing that nobody's brought up yet: Nick Paul, the injury with him. Last night we saw him in a boot, so it's a foot injury, it's an ankle injury. Let's hope that it's nothing serious. But the way that the Lightning were able to win that game last night with no Point, no Paul, no Cirelli, and we figured it out yesterday. This is why you want to listen to the show. Ben Pierce and I, we figured out what the lines were going to be, and that's exactly what they were. It was Gensel with Kucherov and Hagel. You load up on that first line. The second line with Dominic James, Oliver Bjorkstrand, and Gage Gonsalves. We know what that third line was looking like with Gord, Girgensons, and Holmberg, and then line 4 with Dougie, Sabrin, and Jack Finley. And it kind of worked out, exactly that. 12 forwards, 6 defensemen. Now, a little surprised that it was Carlisle over Crozier. And speaking to the great Bryan Engblom up in the press box, I go, why do you think that is? And, he asked me, we kind of went back and forth because the Lightning like to play a right-handed defenseman with a left-handed shot. Moser and Raddysh are going to play together, and McDonough and Chernak. Who's going to play with Hebben? We thought it would be Crozier, but it was Carlisle. Now, could it have something to do with Crozier, obviously having a couple of knocks this year? He hasn't played his best. I think he's still trying to find his groove. Or with 10 different teams outside of the Lightning and the Sabres in attendance last night, and I put this out on my social media as well, there were 10 visiting teams in the press box last night taking in that game between the Sabres and the Lightning. Maybe Julian Brisebois was showcasing a guy like Declan Carlisle because he has played really well. He's pissed off Sean Durzi, still to the point where he's still pissed off in the penalty box somewhere. And if you send him down, because listen, when Dastu comes back, when Lilleberg comes back, I mean, Jesus, you scratch Crozier last night. You have freaking 9 defensemen. And Dastu's played too well. I don't think you're sending him down. And I think Carlisle may be the odd man. He is the odd man out. I mean, Crozier's going to be the odd man out, but you could send him down without having to pass him through waivers. Unfortunately for Declan Carlisle, you do. So if you're the Lightning and everybody gets healthy, and I know you want depth on the blue line, but maybe you move Carlisle in a deal. Maybe you move him because you're going to lose him for nothing. If everybody gets healthy, you're losing that kid for nothing, and they're not going to keep him over Dastu. They're not going to keep him over Lilleberg. I doubt that they're going to keep him over Crozier. So don't be surprised if Declan Carlisle gets moved just because you don't want to lose him for nothing. You want to get something from him. Janet Best in the house. What's up, crew? Tampa Bay way last 2 games have been like a damn movie, I swear. Charles Carney. Nice. Very nice things for you to say. Thank you so much. Dan PK, what's up, bro? Nice haircut, bro. I didn't get a haircut, but I appreciate you, my friend. Happy Victory Cigar Wednesday. I like that as well. Daniel Deschnau. Frank Saravelli says teams expect Panarin to be moved by the roster freeze today at 3 p.m. Yes, I see that. He loves the show. Jay, are we getting Artemi? Would it help us at 12:20? We will break that all down. When you're looking at a game like last night, right? And they didn't wear the Stadium Series jerseys last night, but it looks like they're going to wear them on Thursday. Against the Panthers tomorrow. We'll be live from the arena once again. So, last night's game had a feeling as the game went on, like I was watching the team from 4 or 5 years ago, where they just found a way. Remember the Tampa Bay findaways? That was them. We're getting to that point again. In the last 2-3 years, I did not feel that. It was just kind of melancholy, kind of just run-of-the-mill type of stuff. You need to be able to build some, it's almost like a callus of fighting through some of the tough times and being able to come out on top. And that's what we're seeing with this team. I was ready to say, well, tonight's not their night. Who are we going to talk to? You're going to have games like this. There was an adrenaline dump after the game. I don't care if Buffalo played back-to-back. Teams play back-to-backs all the time. I feel like we put way too much stock into teams on a back-to-back. And like surprised when they play. Well, they're professional athletes, man. They're playing 82. It's not 3 in a row. It's not 4 in a row. It's 2 games in a row. They're okay. They'll be fine. They're fine. Buffalo didn't lose that game because they were on the back end of a back-to-back. The Lightning won that game. Their goalie, Ellis, played really well. I thought Ellis outplayed Andrei Vasilevsky last night. The first goal that the Lightning scored, it was a turnover by Rasmus Dahlin, who I thought was horrible last night. I don't know if I've seen a top-tier player in the National Hockey League make as many poor decisions as I saw Rasmus Dahlin last night. I was horrified watching that because I like his game. I think he's a good player. But the turnover that it led to the first goal was inexcusable. There was another play across the blue line where he just turns and fires the puck. And it just was like right on the stick of Brandon Hagel on the power play. And it's such a lack of vision from a pretty damn good defenseman. I was shocked at how poor he looked last night. But you come back and the goal that Vasi gives up to tie the game to Samuelsson was a short side goal, not good enough. The other goal that was scored by Samuelsson was okay. I think Raddysh needed to do a better job of stepping up in that situation, but I think Vasi needs to have that one. And then the third one was after a long penalty kill, and it was on Ryan McDonagh, like getting boxed out and not having good positioning in front of the net. And that's not something that you expect from a guy like Ryan McDonagh. So would I have been worried if the Lightning lost that game? Not at all. How often is Vasi going to give in a couple cheapies and McDonagh getting boxed out in front? Like, I'm not worried about that in the long run. I'm not. And especially with the injuries. No Paul, no Point, no Cirelli. Obviously up the middle. You got Jake Guentzel playing center. If they would have lost that game, I would not have. It would have meant nothing. I'd just say, hey, it is what it is. Let's get back on the horse Thursday night against the Florida Panthers and go from there. But somehow, some way, this team finds a way. And Darren Raddysh absolutely ripping that slap shot past Ellis. The building went crazy. What a freaking blast. 98 miles per hour. And he asked me, it was just so random in the press box, in the locker room, after the game. We're waiting to talk to Jake Guentzel, and Raddy's like, Jay, and I'm like, what's up? He goes, how hard was that slap shot? I don't know. And Ed goes, 98 miles an hour. And he was like disappointed. Raddy asked me, and when Ed told him 98, he's like, oh, 98? Like, dude, imagine shooting the puck 98 miles per hour and being upset. It's amazing. It's amazing. Electric goals in 5 straight for Darren Raddysh. He's 17 goals on the season. He's just been incredible. And then the overtime was thrilling. Kucherov with the unbelievable pass down, the home run pass to Jake Guentzel, and he seals the deal 5-hole. Like, Jake Guentzel is such an important part of this team. What a fantastic signing by Julien Brisebois. This team just has to keep on humming. They have to keep on going. They got to keep shooting the puck, finding ways to be successful. And I thought it was big yesterday too. You have the power play goal by Oliver Bjorkstrand was another big one. He's got 9 goals on the year this year, and 8 of them have come on the man advantage. And he's another guy where somebody asked me yesterday, like, what's the deal with Bjorkstrand? Listen, he's just a quiet guy. He's a quiet guy. He kind of stays to himself. He obviously hasn't, been able to really translate some of the success that he's had in his career here to the Lightning, but it doesn't mean that he can't find it. And that's if they hold on to him, because we know that the trade deadline is quickly approaching. I'm still keeping my eyes out right now with everything going on with Artemi Panarin. Is he going to be moved? Braden Point skating on a line today with Oliver Bjorkstrand and Gage Gonsalves this afternoon. I think it's just going to be a little bit of a placeholder spot, because today, open practice, no Hagel, no Gensel, no Kucherov, no Vasilevsky. They're getting a rest day, so nothing crazy there. Don't read too much into it. You just really can't. You can't read too much into it. I'm keeping an eye on everything. Keeping an eye on everything to make sure that Artemi Panarin does not get moved. But we need to have a serious discussion about Darren Raddysh. I just don't see, and I know we've talked about this a lot the last couple of weeks, I just don't see how he's not on this team next year. He has become one of the most important members of this Tampa Bay Lightning squad. The way that he's been able to step up in the absence of a Victor Hedman, Ryan McDonough, Chernak was banged up for a while, Dastu's down, Lilleberg's down. The partnership he's formed with J.J. Moser, the absolute laser of a slap shot that he has. I mean, he has literally changed the way this team plays. We were clamoring for another guy to fill in for Steven Stamkos in the office over there, but that's not how this man advantage works anymore. They don't rely on him to be able to be the guy to take that shot. Now it's Darren Raddysh, and he is not hesitating like we've seen in years past. He is letting him rip. And the rapport and the chemistry that he has with Nikita Kucherov, it does not go unnoticed. And they have found their groove. This is a guy that is an inspiration to not just hockey fans, but to people all around the Tampa Bay area. I mean, his dad, and we heard the story, his dad dealing with stage 4 cancer. He's a father. He's a guy that's gotten healthy scratched earlier this year. He spent all those years in the minors. This is a guy that is just stuck with it. He didn't give in. No matter what obstacles he's had to face on and off the ice, Darren Raddysh just keeps putting in the work. And now he is seeing the benefits from that work ethic. He is a huge reason why the Lightning have been this good this season. And I understand what Julien Brisebois said at the fireside chat a couple of months ago. I was there, saying that Ratty was in line for a game or in line for a life-changing contract. I understand that. But it feels like that life-changing contract has to be here. He is part of the heart and soul of this Lightning team. Look at what happened last night. He scores with 25 seconds left. He jumps into the glass. Everybody's celebrating. People are excited when they see Darren Raddysh shoot the puck. He has become one of the most must-see athletes here in the Tampa Bay area because he has an absolute howitzer from the blue line. He is a game changer. Goals in 5 straight games. He's got 17 goals this year. He's a freaking defenseman. This is the kind of guy that you want to build around. This is the kind of guy that you want here for the long run. Now, is he going to get an $8 million deal? $8 million a year deal here for the Lightning? No, he's going to have to understand that he's probably going to take less than market value if he's going to have to stay here. But again, he's got a family. He's got comfort. He's got a partner in J.J. Moser that brings the best out of him. I really hope a deal can be reached. And you never know. Maybe they sign an extension during the year. I know this is a tough draw for a guy like Julien Brisebois because, once again, he was a healthy scratch earlier this year, and now he's one of the best defensemen in the National Hockey League. They've got to figure it out, right? I mean, I'm not the only person that's saying this. He is that important to this team. He is woven so deep into the fabric of the 2025-2026 Tampa Bay Lightning. I just don't see how he's not a part of this team's future. He has played that well. I don't think Raddysh should go anywhere. I really don't. Now, a lot of the people have been asking, and again, I'm checking every 5 minutes. Bum, 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 bum. All right. Nothing. Okay. All right. So, here we go. The $1 million question. The $1 million question. Who asked it before? Adam, love it. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Before we talk about Panarin, can I just show some love to Honest Hammer Custom Builders LLC, our residential and commercial needs, 813-244-0956, and EverHealth, our partners here on the program. I love them so much. Yeah, couldn't do this without you guys. Couldn't do this without everybody in the super chat. So if you can donate $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can do, every little bit helps. I need everybody. Before we talk about Artemi Panarin to the Bolts, hit that like button right now. Everybody hit that like button, whether you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter/X. That's the only way that we are going to break this entire thing down. Jeremy Lowe, Panarin trade talk heating up. Would it be a good move for the Lightning? We're sending J. Recher to space on the Artemis mission. You are funny. So in my closet back over here on the side, I have a Artemi Panarin Rangers hoodie. Look, at everybody wants to know about the Panarin thing. Okay, let's get into it right now. Okay, guys. And let me start off by saying Artemi Panarin is one of my favorite players in the National Hockey League, and I think he's a phenomenal player. And what he's been able to do for the New York Rangers, he's been an incredible free agent signing. And any of the shortcomings that they've had, I don't really think you can put on him. But with that being said, this whole Artemi Panarin situation, people are missing the boat. You're missing the most important part of this entire discussion. You're missing the most important part of this entire equation, and it's the fit with the team. Everybody keeps talking about Artemi Panarin's contract and the extension and the trade compensation and what would have to go back the other way. Would you have to trade a Bjorkstrand? Would you have to trade him an O'Reilly or a Geeky or a first-round pick in the future and all these different things? It's not about that with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the more and more I think about it, once again, I think everybody is missing the most obvious reason why I don't think this is going to be a good fit for the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I know it sounds maybe a little bit hypocritical because you know who the first person was to bring up the idea of an Artemi Panarin going to the Lightning? This guy 2 weeks ago. Go check the tape, check your sheet. But when I think about the fit with Artemi Panarin and the Tampa Bay Lightning, it just doesn't work. And I'm going to tell you why. If you trade for Artemi Panarin, you are trading for a guy that you have to play in the top six. No doubt about it. He has to play on one of those first two lines. So I know a lot of people out there would say, well, just play with Point and Kucherov. And you'd have Point, Kucherov, and Panarin. And then line two would be Cirelli, Hagel, and Gensel. A pretty good top two lines, right? But let me ask you a question. What's the most important thing that the Lightning did adjusting their team from last year to this year? The most important thing was being tougher to play against. Now, if you bring in a guy like Artemi Panarin, does it make your team more talented? 1,000%. Does it make you tougher to play against? I don't know if I agree with that. One thing that Jon Cooper loves to do, and you all know this if you're a Lightning fan, is at times he likes to put those lines in a blender. He likes to mix things around. And one thing that we've learned with Nikita Kucherov is he can play with Point and Gensel, and he can play with Cirelli and Hagel. But what do you have with those forwards? You have guys that play a 200-foot game. Maybe not, to some people, maybe not as much Point as we saw earlier in his career. He takes a little more chances. He's a little more leaning offense. But Jake Gensel, a winger, played center last night. He's one of the best 200-foot forwards in the game on the wing. Cirelli and Hagel, arguably the best penalty-killing duo in the game. So you don't have to worry about Nikita Kucherov hanging in the neutral zone a little bit and not getting back all the way, because you have guys on his line that are going to cover for him. If you have a line with Kucherov, Point, and Panarin, you know what you're going to do? You are going to almost run the tape back on the line with Kucherov, Point, and Stamkos. They moved on from Steven Stamkos and brought in Jake Gensel, and this is the Lightning's words, not mine, because a guy like Jake Gensel helps them 5-on-5. And we saw it. At times, Kucherov, Point, and Stamkos were unstoppable in the offensive zone. But you know what a lot of people don't want to talk about? A lot of people don't want to talk about how that line sometimes got hemmed in deep in their own zone for a long time. And when it was bad, it was ugly. You think it's going to be better with a guy like Panarin than Stamkos? Stamkos at least was winning draws in the defensive zone. Now, some people would say, all right, well, you could just put Panarin on a line with Hagel and Cirelli and keep Kucherov with Point and Gensel. I understand that. That would make more sense. But with that being said, that would eliminate you ever being able to move those lines around. And you would be right back in the same position you were with Steven Stamkos here. I don't think it makes sense. And here's the other thing. People keep saying about Artemi Panarin of it would help him on the power play. You put him in Stamkos' old spot. We just spoke about Darren Raddysh. This is not the same power play as when Steven Stamkos is here. The big right-handed shot is not in the old Stamkos office. It's coming from the top. It's coming from your defenseman. That's why they've moved Hedman off of there. And that's why they put Raddysh there. So he could be that guy. So you're going to put Panarin there on that outside? That's not how this power play, that's not how this man advantage works anymore. And people say, well, you got to move. Well, you move Bjorkstrand. Just move Bjorkstrand. You think the teams around the league know? Like, you don't think that they know that the guy's been struggling? He's a guy that really hasn't been playing in the top six until last night, and that's because of 3 injuries to the centerman. Now, somebody's asking here, would you rather go after Trocheck? I usually say yes, but where's he going to play? Trocheck is like Cirelli. He's a second-line center on a Stanley Cup winning team. Where's he going to play? He helps you with the draw. As far as him individually as a player, would he help? Yes, no doubt. But here's the thing, and people are forgetting about this. Nick Paul's a second-line center really too, and he has a tough time getting into the lineup in his spot. He plays the wing on the 4th line sometimes. He would be a second-line center on a lot of other teams. Look, he scored a power play goal the other night when Bjorkstrand was in the box. This guy's way too talented to play that few minutes for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So as much as I would love to have a guy like Artemi Panarin here, again, he's one of my favorite players in the game. He's friends with Kucherov. I understand I just don't see that being a fit with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I'll leave you with this. Right now, if I had to tell you, or right now, if I had to ask you, who would you rather have over the next 4 years? Would you rather have Artemi Panarin or would you rather have Darren Raddysh? 6 weeks ago, 6 months ago, 6 years ago, that may have been a question that gets laughed at. But if I ask you right now, as a Tampa Bay Lightning fan, knowing how important Darren Raddysh is, not just on the man advantage, but on that blue line with J.J. Moser playing top minutes, and a guy that seems to really be growing into his game and reaching his peak now, and his best hockey still may be in front of him, would you rather have him or Artemi Panarin, who is offensively gifted as they come, but defensively, he's never going to win a Selke trophy. And you have to wonder how his game is going to age as he gets into his mid to late 30s. So again, when everybody talks about Artemi Panarin, a lot of it has to do with trade compensation. It's not about trade compensation with me. It's about fit. And if people do not bring up that aspect of it, they're missing the boat. That's why you're here on the Jay Recher podcast. All right. So yesterday on the Jay Recher podcast, we were joined by our good friend, USF men's basketball coach, Bryan Hodgson. He joined us before the game tonight against UTSA. Let's hear what that discussion was like. He's the man. All right. So here he is, our good buddy, the USF men's basketball coach, Bryan Hodgson, joins us on the program. Of course, we're talking a lot of Bulls, a lot of Bolts, a little bit of everything here on the program. Coach, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, buddy. I mean, it's been an entertaining brand of basketball you guys have been playing this year. What would you say, like, what's your synopsis kind of how the season has gone so far? I mean, even the games that you've lost, man, you're going in overtime, you lose them by 1. You told me earlier this year, hey, Jay, as long as we're playing our best ball at the end of February and in March, we're in a good spot. Do you still feel like you're heading in that direction?
Yeah, for sure. And that's coming off a loss, obviously. Lost at Temple on Saturday. Would love to never lose a game. Unfortunately, that's just not how it goes. Lost to Temple, didn't play well. I thought they played tougher than us. And then we gave away 2 at home. Just sloppy, undisciplined against Wichita State at home, against UAB at home. Now both good teams, so I'm not knocking them, but we handed those games away. We didn't deserve to win on Saturday. Temple punked us in multiple ways, but I still feel like we're heading in the right direction. We're tied for second in league, a game out of first place. We played the hardest schedule in the conference, which I'm fine with. That's what we want. It doesn't get any easier, obviously. UTSA tomorrow, and then Tulsa Sunday, and then turn around and go to Wichita State. And then obviously you got FAU on the back end of that. And so we've got another brutal stretch coming up. But I do feel like we're in a great place. And our guys understand the assignment and what needs to improve for us to have a shot to win this league.
Does it bother you more when you lose a game because of toughness rather than lack of execution? Like, if the shots ain't falling, the shots ain't falling. But, a toughness thing, is that something that you get more upset about because it's something you can control, like your attitude and focus kind of thing? Or is that just kind of come with the territory as you're trying to forge an identity as you get closer to the postseason?
No, it shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. And it was a combination of, the lack of execution was there as well. It falls into the toughness category. Their tenacity, if you will, caused us to not execute. And so it's kind of all lumped into one. Lose a game where you're just outmanned is a different story. But to lose a game that you go in thinking you should win, and you don't because you're again, the toughness and lack of execution combined. Yeah, that one's a tough pill to swallow. So, but not just for me, for our guys. Our guys know what happened on Saturday. They've had to answer the bell. We come back, we grade the film, we watch it. We have a come to Jesus meeting and about what needs to be different, who needs to play different, and get ready for another game. And so I think you'll see an improved product on the floor tomorrow against UTSA.
Yeah, I always have a perspective that's a lot different than my colleagues here in the Bay Area. As a guy that's, you and I have talked, I'm still coaching. And I'm always, my dad was a coach, my grandfather was a coach, and I talked to this to Jon Cooper as well. How do you self-analyze yourself? How do you self-analyze your job as a head coach, as far as knowing when to push, knowing when to pull, knowing substitution changes, right? It's one thing to coach the kids, but how do you kind of self-analyze what you're doing and how you can improve?
Yeah, that's a great question. First and foremost, I've hired a staff that uh, not yes men, for lack of a better phrase. They check me, and I constantly bounce things off of them, and so that's first and foremost. I got a phenomenal staff that's going to tell me what they think, if we should or could be doing something differently. But more importantly, I go back and evaluate the film. And man, I tell you what, every time, win or lose, I replay, a lot of plays over and over again in my head, laying in bed and throughout the day. And what could I have done differently here? Could I made a different substitution? How did I use my timeouts? All those things, right? And you got to learn from your mistakes. And so we as a staff and as a program take pride in doing that, myself included. When we lose, I take full responsibility. At the end of the day, it's my job to put our players in a position to win. So when we don't win, that ultimately falls on me. And that's just always how it's going to be when I'm here. I'm going to be honest, I can't stand the cowards, that coaches that get up in a press conference after a game and point the finger at their players. It's just disgusting. There's guys at the highest level of college basketball pointing their finger at their players and their staff in press conferences after losses. That's just cowardly, horrible stuff. They shouldn't coach. Ultimately, it falls down on the head coach. And so I didn't do a good enough job putting our players in a position to win on Saturday, but that'll be different against UTSA.
Do you ever feel like you've done enough? I have this conversation a lot, and something that we talk about here locally of all the different head coaches. I've been working in this industry here in the city for over 10 years now, and I always love to hear the different perspectives from the coaches. And I think some of the things that I get is, you always feel like you can do a little bit more. Would you say that you're in that category of like, yeah, you may exhaust every avenue and you may turn over every stone, but you always feel even after a win, like, could I do more? Is that something that you say?
Yeah, for sure. I just think that's my personality. Could I do more? Could I have done things differently? Had I done more, would I have done things differently? Yeah, I mean, that's always going to be there, right? If you're a competitor, you're always going to have that. And so, yeah, I absolutely do. But man, I'll tell you what, we work. So it's never a lack of work or preparation. More so, could I have done things in the moment differently? On Saturday, I'm gonna be honest with you, not much I could have changed. Despite what the Twitter world may think, we didn't draw up plays to step out of bounds or throw the ball into the bleachers. I'm not sure I did a good enough job prepping our guys for the physicality that Temple brought and the pressure that they put on us. And at the end of the day, that's my fault. And but in game, I just thought we didn't do a good job executing. And so, that hurts. I go in and I always start by apologizing to the players after we lose and say, hey, I didn't put you in a position to win. I'll make sure it's fixed moving forward.
When you have guys like Enes and Pinion who are just they're just so dynamic threats on the outside. How do you kind of, I know sometimes in basketball, you live with the sword, you die with the sword kind of thing, but how do you kind of coach those guys? Because they got to have that shooter's mentality. If they miss 5 in a row, they can't be afraid to make that, try to take a sixth. How do you balance that out with those guys? You have to tell them, hey, if it ain't falling from deep, go to the mid range, try to get to the bucket, try to get to the free throw line. Is that something that's a concerted effort with kind of your deep ball specialist? Or is that just kind of a common narrative with everybody on the team where if it's not falling, you got to get to the hoop?
No, we play the numbers game. So if you're a good shooter, if you're shooting a high percentage, you're going to continue to take high percentage shots. I don't care if you miss 6 in a row. You got to take the next 5. It doesn't matter because the percentages tell us that they're gonna fall. You can't. Worst thing you can do as a shooter is pass up good looks, right? That just makes matters worse. So we're never going to tell those guys to stop taking quality shots. We may coach shot selection if we feel like they're not taking great ones. We may coach that, but never ever stop shooting the basketball. We talk a lot about putting pressure on the rim first, getting kick out threes. We like paint touch threes. So we'll put a huge emphasis on that, but we are never ever going to tell those guys to stop shooting the basketball when they've got their feet set, get a clean catch, and take a high efficient shot. That would not make much sense from a standpoint of what we want to do. And so they're going to continue to shoot the ball, and they both do it at a very high level.
Isaiah has been such a dynamic player there on the inside for you guys. And, even some games where I look at and I go, man, he's a big guy, but there's some other big guys out there. It just seems like, man, if he's controlling the paint, he's like a walking double. How important is he to kind of set the tone? I mean, it just seems like he's wearing the hard hat more times often than not. As far as what your expectations for him going into the season compared to what you've gotten from him this season, what would you say? Is it exceeding expectations? Was it different?
Yeah, he's definitely met my expectations and delivered on his end. I mean, right now on pretty much any analytic website you look at, as far, I don't know what other people are saying about other bigs, because it's not even close. He's the best player in our league. He's the number one ranked player in our league. Whether you look at ESPN analytics, Ken Palm, Evan, it doesn't matter who you look at. He's the number one player in our league. It's not close. I think he's got 14 or 15 doubles on the year. He had one of his worst rebounding performances the other night and finished with 8. That's one of his worst on the year. And so Isaiah's delivered at a high level. A lot of it comes from his work ethic and the way he studies the game. He's a true student of the game. He's in here every morning at 7 a.m., getting work on his own. And usually that tends to work out for those guys. You can't cheat this game, and he has not. And he's worked at a high level, and so he's performing at a high level.
Yeah, one of the things I've learned over the years is trying to see how different people go about their business. And everybody talks about shot selection and how to shoot the basketball in proper form. One of the big things I ever learned was listening to Dennis Rodman talk about rebounding and talking about the trajectory of the shots. And if guys miss certain things, how they miss certain shots. Is it going to be a high carom? Is it going to be something that's going to go near the baseline? In basketball, there's just so many different nuances there. How do you make sure that guys are balancing out using that analytical stuff, but also having that intuition, having that instinct to make sure that they're not bogged down with the information? Do you ever sense that with guys? Because we do get a lot of information now. We have so many more stats now than we did in the past. But do you ever have to kind of dial it back for certain guys because you kind of see the wheel spinning maybe a little bit too fast?
No, not necessarily, because the work has to come first, right? You got to do the work and have the heart and the willpower to compete. After that, the numbers and the analytics, the stats, those are just a cheat sheet for you to use during competition, right? You talk about rebounding. You've got to have the mindset that you want to go get the basketball first. Second, study where the basketball may come off based on shot trajectory, etc. Because if you have one without the other, you're not going to be any good. And so, we recruit to it too. So I'm sure there's athletes out there where maybe information overload. We try to recruit high IQ guys that can retain the information that we're giving them and execute at a high level. And we haven't had any problems with that here.
I love that. We've obviously seen so many different things. Guys playing in the G League now, going back into the college ranks. I mean, how much of that?
I signed Charles Bediako at Alabama, so that Charles was like my little brother. I signed him there, coached him for 2 years. When I left to go to Arkansas State, he left and went to the G League. But it's I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a lot to argue there. Here's what I would say. If the door has been beat down like it has, and we're allowing, it used to be when I first got in the business, European pros could not come over if they had received payment to be a professional athlete. Well, now they're allowed, right? And that's muddy water, because Was he a pro? Was he not a pro? What level of pro? How much money did he make? How much money is he telling people he made? It's nobody knows the truth, right? And so we've just completely opened the door for them. Charles is not even close to the oldest guy in the SEC. He's playing against guys that are 3 or 4 years older than him in some instances, and never played in an NBA game. I do believe if you've played in an NBA game, you should not be able to come back and play college basketball. But if you remember, the G League was originally called the D League, which stood for developmental, right? So if you've only ever played in the developmental league, to me, why should you be treated differently than a guy that played in the full-blown Pro A league in Spain, Italy, Germany, you name it? And so at the end of the day, people are upset with Nate Oates. Nate Oates has always tried to stay ahead of the times when it comes to things like these. And he's, listen, there's a G League player playing for Santa Clara who's pretty darn good. Baylor signed a guy that was drafted. At this point, I think Nate said, listen, I'm going to take what the NCAA is allowing, and until they put more strict guidelines on it. And so it's very unique. We're in very unique times right now. We've got a kid playing in our league that we didn't recruit. He's from the state of Florida, one of the better players in our league. We did not recruit because we thought there would be no way he got another year of eligibility. He played his 4 years, was on a team at another institution, and quit that team about halfway through the season. He quit the team. He was granted another year of eligibility and is one of the better players in the American right now. So what's the difference? Right? I mean, we have a guy that quit a team. And so it's just, there's a lot of things, and everybody wants to get on here and complain. I see, nothing worse than a coach after a loss, stepping up to the podium and talking about what's happening to Alabama when he didn't just play Alabama. I've seen these guys get up to the podium and talk about what Alabama did or what Baylor did, and they've lost 4 games in a row in a completely different league. Sounds to me like they're probably dodging the tough questions. So I think everybody should just continue to operate the way that they see fit within the rules until we get a more direct set of rules that everybody can play and understand to the fullest with no gray area. Until then, who am I to tell somebody not to operate in the gray area?
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, when the gates are open that much, man, you got to kind of get in where you fit in type of thing. Coach, a big night Wednesday night with you guys. And, it's a night that a lot of basketball fans here are the home for hoops with Arthur Jones night. And I know the last couple of years, being able to talk about his impact, it's very profound. And one thing that I've noticed with you, if you've really tried to make sure that the kids on your team understand the history of USF basketball, how important is Wednesday night at the Yuengling Center?
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. I mean, Arthur's phenomenal man. I'm very fortunate. Got to meet him at the alumni day here a couple weeks ago. Jackie in the development staff over in Selman does a phenomenal job connecting with our alumni, and put on an amazing alumni basketball event here, and got to spend time with Arthur. And but our guys did not, and so really excited to have the opportunity to honor him tomorrow, and all that he's accomplished and what he did to pave the way. And really excited also because our guys will get to spend some time with him and get to meet him and understand him on a personal level. I think there's a lot of value there. And he's a special person that on it, like I said, paved the way here at USF for many people after him, and really excited to be a part of a special night in his honor on Wednesday.
Go get your tickets. Go usfbulls.com. All the information on all the programs there for the University of South Florida. But again, that's the best place to get your tickets. Get in the building, pack out the Yuengling Center. Fantastic atmosphere a couple weeks ago against FAU. That was awesome. We got to keep this thing rolling. It's USF's home for hoops. Go check out the Yuengling Center. Again, usfbulls.com. Coach, you're the best. I appreciate you, my friend. Continued success throughout the rest of the season. We'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, Jay. Take care.
All right, buddy. Boom, boom, boom. There you have it. Our good pal, Coach Bryan Hodgson, joined us on the program. Make sure you get out to the Yuengling Center tonight. Again, go usfbulls.com. Go support the boys as they are in action against UTSA. That should be a fun one. It's never a dull moment, that is for sure. Richie P, he gonna be there. My grandbaby did a Valentine's recital last night and hit us with a Joe Pinion 3 to the forehead. Only I knew what it meant. That said, being Tampa Bay born and raised and supporting local starts early. Sergio Beltres wants to know, what Lightning player jersey should I buy? I would probably go, probably Vazzy or Cooch, right? That's the way to go, because even if, I just don't see how they'll go anywhere else. JJ Moser's another one. He just signed an extension that hasn't even kicked in yet, I think Vazzy or Cooch is probably the best way to go about it. William Hawkins, my guy Will. Hello, wanted to give my niece a super shout out to Aaliyah Valdez, working on her AA degree and has been accepted to an honor society. Please announce if possible. My guy Will, of course, buddy. Congratulations to Aaliyah Valdez. Really, really good. Take care of your education, ladies and gentlemen. That's the work that you put in. That knowledge is power that you're going to be able to have for the rest of your life. So congratulations to Miss Valdez, and a bright future for you. Congratulations from myself and everybody here on the Jay Recher podcast. Okay, some news when it comes to our Tampa Bay Rays and the discussion today with the Hillsborough County Commissioners. So, listening to some of this stuff, it started today. It was like the hour mark. Our guy Evan Klosky was all over it. Ken Hagan and the Hillsborough County Commissioners, they're going to continue discussions with the Rays. And the one big thing that you were able to glean from Ken was that the relationship and the discussion with this ownership group is significantly different than it was with Stu Sternberg. The back and forth, there's a lot of open communication and dialogue, and it doesn't seem like people are going around anybody's back. It just seems a lot simpler. And that's what you want to see. That's what you want to hear, whether it works, whether it doesn't work. The other thing is, I know a lot of people have been talking about the CIT funding. He makes it clear that CIT funding will be needed for this project, and it is clear that it will be a point of contention. Now, CIT is a community investment tax, and I've been reading up about this. It's a tax here in Hillsborough County where it was approved by Hillsborough County voters back in September of 1996 for a period of 30 years. It expires actually this November, ironically enough. Hillsborough County voters voted to renew the tax through 2041. And what it does is it takes a half-cent tax and it puts it towards different planned projects around. And some of the things that it's been used for already: fire station projects, road projects, parks and rec, law enforcement and courts, intersection, bridge, stormwater, public utilities, sidewalks, government facilities, arts and culture projects, right? So you understand what it's for. Some of that money is going to have to go to a stadium. And that's one of my big points of contention about this entire deal was we had the tourism tax there on the other side there with, the city of St. Pete and Pinellas County, and they were willing in conjunction to put forth $700 million towards the new stadium there for the Rays. Where is that number going to be on this side of the bay? Using that CIT funding, are you going to be able to get up to $700 million? Hell, the new Rays ownership group said that they wanted to pay half of $2.3 billion. So you're looking at $1.15 billion or 1.15 billion. I don't know how that's going to work. That's a tough putt, man. He also mentions that they're not going to touch CIT money intended for the Bucks, though they have not heard from Bucks on future plans. He expects the franchise to trigger one of their extensions at Recher. Hagan says the approach by the ownership group is night and day different than the Sternberg group. Like I said, it's been refreshing. And we've been talking about that a lot here in the last couple of days of how there's money going to the Tampa Bay Lightning for some renovations at Benchmark International Arena. Where's that money coming from? Is it coming from the new ownership group? Is it coming from the county? Is it coming from the city? I don't know that for sure, but that's something to be taken into account. If the Tampa Bay area and Raymond James Stadium wants to continue to be on the forefront of a venue that is available for Super Bowls and national championship games and WrestleManias and outdoor hockey games, they need to continue to stay on the forefront of innovation and the forefront of just making sure that their facilities are up to date and cutting edge. And we've been hearing that for the last couple of years now. A lot of people that were against the Rays coming here would say, well, there's going to be money eventually going to the Buccaneers. And Ken Hagan confirmed that today. So that money, that pool of money that you're going to have to dip into for this stadium, there is already in that pool money set aside for the Buccaneers. We know the cash cow of the NFL. We know that NFL is king. So for a situation like this, we have to keep in mind that it's not just, oh, get a baseball stadium here, plop it in, and we're in good shape. I really hope that this works out, but it just seems like there is a lot of obstacles. And the other thing that Ken Hagan says is, the Rays haven't threatened to leave, but he believes that Orlando is a viable option if they can't figure things out. And it's not a threat, but it's a reality. And that's one thing that we've heard from a lot of different people. You could say whatever you want. Say whatever you want about Stu Sternberg. But Stu Sternberg was not a guy that wanted to leave here. He didn't go about it in the right way, no doubt about it. It was very awkward at times. The split season thing, the Montreal, right? Still, I think one of the more tone-deaf things that I've seen in my adult life. But he wanted to stay here. He wanted to figure it out. We don't necessarily know that from these guys. If Babby and Zalupski and these guys, and they do their due diligence and they spend the next year or two trying to figure out the best thing for this franchise, and they keep hitting a wall, and they reach dead end after dead end after dead end after dead end, and they see an opportunity elsewhere. Do they have any allegiance to the Bay Area? If they look at a Portland, if they look at a Nashville, if they look at a Raleigh, and they can see it flourishing there, what's their dedication? What's their loyalty to our market? They don't have one. So that's just something we have to be, really keen and aware of as we continue to have these conversations. I'm going to reach out to Ken Hagan because we'll have him on the show here the next couple of weeks. The Hitman Ken Hagan. Love him. Great guy, big time sports fan. So hopefully he can shed some light. And listen, I want to be able to try to promote this in a way where it gets people to feel optimistic and hey, this is going to work. But I'm a realist before I'm ever a pessimist or an optimist, guys. And I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm going to keep it 100. And listen, that's something that I think working for WDAE, that, being the flagship, and I don't think anybody can ever really say, oh, well, we say exactly what we want to on the air when you have a flagship team under your banner. Right? You're not going to go balls to the wall, and you're not going to go all hellfire and brimstone when, you're doing the game in 2 hours on your station. There's going to be some modicum of just reservation. Do you think certain guys are going to go after owners, after general manager, after coaches, after players? I don't know. You may at times, but you also don't want to burn that bridge, and you don't want to ruin that relationship. It's just natural. It's natural. It really is. All right, let me tell you about my friends over at Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, for all your residential and your commercial needs. My guy, Russ, my guy, Hammer, got the business card right here. Boom! Russ is the man. 813-244-0956. Osins, owner, licensed contractor. General Contractor Florida, CGC 153-1166, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, thehonesthammer.com, thehonesthammer@gmail.com. Send them an email today. Tell them that you heard it right here on the Recher podcast. This is one of my prized possessions, right? I love this thing because there's just in no way would I ever wear this? Would I ever buy this for myself? Because I just don't know what I would need it for. So I'm so happy that my guy got me this, and I cannot wait to wear this to one of the job sites either this week or next week. This thing is so badass. I love it. I keep it right next to me. I swear to you, when I need to laugh, when I need to make myself happy, I put on my hard hat because that's not one thing that I ever thought that I was going to have. So think about that type of when you want somebody working on your home. Our guy Russ, he's a thoughtful dude. We love him, that's for sure. And I know Benny's saying get some stickers on there. I get it, but like I think it looks clean, dude. I like how clean it is. That's part of the reason why I like it so much. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. And then, of course, EverHealth, 17 different locations in Pinellas County. It's really the new age of healthcare. We have our EverHealth injury report every Thursday at 12:30 with Dr. Carlos Rodriguez. We got another great show coming, or another great segment coming tomorrow with him. He's just such a nice man. He really is such a good dude. We're going to talk about the injuries coming up for this weekend. And the discussions that we have are going to be much different now going forward because it's not all Bucks all the time. And once the NFL's done, so we're going to take a deep dive into different sports, and then baseball comes around, and you're not going to want to miss these conversations because a lot of it hits home. Everhealth.org, EverHealth Institute is fantastic. It reminds me a lot of the broadcasting school that I went to, that hands-on training. If you're looking for a career, if you know somebody looking for a change in their career and they want to get into the healthcare field, go to everhealth.org. Just check it out. The website is amazing. They answer so many of your questions. It's truly incredible. You got to definitely check that out. Hearing Panarin may be on the move. Boom, 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 boom. Could it be the Lightning? Watch it be the Lightning, bro. I'm telling you. Watch it be the Lightning. I don't want to keep going forward with like the Panarin thing. I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy. The thing is, like, a lot of people are like faking it too. Like, breaking news: Artemi Panarin could get traded. Like, come on, bro. That ain't cool. That ain't cool at all. If I had to take a guess on where he would go, I just think Washington makes the most sense. Playing with Ovi, staying on the East Coast. They've always had a rich tradition of having Russian players there. Would it suck for the Rangers to trade him in the division? I think at this point, when you're in the middle of a rebuild, I don't really think that matters to you all that much. I just think that makes the most sense. I just don't see it with the Lightning. I don't. And again, I'm waiting for the news that he gets traded to the Bolts. And I don't care. Listen, I don't care that I'm wrong. I'm in this spot for a reason. I'm not the Lightning general manager. And if it changes, fine, it changes. What's my favorite Beatles song? I like all the hits, man. I like Hey Jude and Let It Be. I really like Eleanor Rigby. That might be my favorite. Eleanor Rigby. That's a good jam. What's the other one? Yesterday. I'm a big fan of that one. But I think it might be Eleanor Rigby. It's a song about loneliness and depression, representing a departure from their early pop love songs. It was different, man. It was just a different age of these guys. And he's just talking about all the lonely people. Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church where her wedding has been. Lives in a dream, waits at the window. That's a good song, man. That's a good jam. I like it. Penny Lane's a good one too. There's a lot of good Beatles songs. I don't quite understand when people say they don't get the Beatles. You may not like the Beatles, it may not be your thing, but banger after banger after banger after banger. It's incredible. Before we talk about Anthony Cirelli and Jon Cooper, I got a chance to talk to Cooper about it last night. Happy National Girls and Women in Sports Day. Now, part of me last night, I'm laying there like, oh, it's tomorrow. I wanted to fill the show with women from all across North America. Now, they didn't always have National Girls and Women's in Sports Day. They always had International Women's Day, which I celebrated for many, many years on the air. And we had 6 different women from 6 different cities. I'm sure you remember that from my time at WDAE. This date snuck up so quickly on me. And I recorded the interview with Bryan Hodgson yesterday, played it today. It would have been such a late pivot to try to get everybody on, all the women on. So I am going to reserve the right to continue to celebrate International Women's Day. You know how important it is to me to be able to be a voice for the women in this industry and beyond. So I think my mom was that the year my mom was on. I think last year she joined us on International Women's Day. So again, it snuck up on me. I don't want to not show any love to it, but International Women's Day is on Friday, March 8th. So next month, I'm writing it down and I'm going to keep it right next to me. March 8th. International Women's Day, March 8th. That's the day I wanted to celebrate. And is that going to be the lady? I don't know. We'll look at it. March 8th. Any of these pens want to work? No? March 8th. On that day, doing it whatever I can to get as many women on the show and make it work and go from there. The women of Red Day, I know that she is football. That's so awesome, man. What the Buccaneers have been able to do for women. Women of Red. All right, I'll look later on for that. JSB, yeah. JSB, that's what we'll get in. Hopefully she'll be able to join us by then. Yeah, March 8th, she'll be back from Milan. She texted me yesterday. She left me some really nice swag from the Stadium Series, and she left me a mug. She left me a mug. So JSB left me a care package of all different stuff. And it was a couple of shirts from the Stadium Series and a hat. And she's like, I left something else in there. And it was actually a mug from the upcoming Olympics from Milan. And I look inside and I was like, did she use this mug? So I didn't say anything. I texted her and said, hey, thank you. Thank you. And then she texted me back. She goes, yes, I did use that mug. I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll use it and then we'll re-gift it every 6 months. So we'll share custody of this Olympic mug. That'd be pretty funny. But yeah, a big shout out. Make sure you follow her, JSB. She's there in Milan. She'll be back there she'll be back here in a couple of weeks. And then she'll be ready to pass that baton back to our friend Gabby Shirley for the home stretch. All right. Yesterday, a really tough bit of news that we had to talk about with Anthony Cirelli and his injury and him being pulled from the Olympics. Now, from what we're hearing, it looks like it's a shoulder injury. Because, it's a stinger. You kind of put things together. It's hard to speculate, but if it's a stinger and it's not really a concussion, you would think it's a stinger. So up here in the shoulder, some kind of shoulder injury, you would have to think, but it's keeping him out of the upcoming Olympics in Milan. And it's an absolute killer for Tony. And I saw him yesterday. So I'm in the locker room yesterday after morning skate, and I look across and I see Cirelli holding holding this bag, and he kind of didn't look great. And I'm kind of watching him and I'm like, all right, well, he's just talking to assistant coach Jeff Halpern, but he didn't look happy. And you didn't want to speculate at the time, but now that you know that he's not going to be in the Olympics. You can understand why that conversation was as long as it was. Jeff Halpern telling him to keep his head up, and he looked so crestfallen, and just I feel so terrible for him. So yesterday or last night during the post-game press conference, we were kind of wondering, right? Or I was wondering, right? Was somebody going to ask the question? Because it was such a crazy game too, right? It's one thing if it was after a loss or after a win, and there was it was a big old nothing burger. But that game was so freaking exciting. And, with Raddysh scoring the late equalizer and Kucherov finding Gensel and him scoring, and just the game was filled with energy and filled with emotion. It was just wild. So nobody ended up, the press conference was about 5.5, 6 minutes last night. And this is where sitting in the back actually helped out. Now, there's a certain candor, there's a certain, and we've talked about this here in the last couple of weeks with the whole thing with Liam Cohen and the Jacksonville Reporter, and about how there's a certain etiquette that goes on in these press conferences. Sometimes you ask things, sometimes you don't. You handle it with kid gloves a little bit. You don't just say and do whatever the hell you want at times. And again, you're not there for you. And that's why a lot of people had issues with the Jacksonville Reporter. It's not so much the sentiment. It was more of you could have done it in a way like I did it last night. And I'm not trying to put myself above her in any way, but that would have been probably a lot more acceptable in people's eyes, right? Just giving you that vantage point. So nobody ended up asking Jon Cooper last night about the Anthony Cirelli thing in the postgame press conference. So as he walked and he got down the stage and walked by, I walked out with him from the interview room out into kind of the open area there, outside the media room, outside the press conference area. And I said, Coop, I'd be remiss. I didn't want to ask it during the press conference because we were talking about the game, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you about the Anthony Cirelli thing. And what Coop said to me, he looked at me, he was just like, it's devastating, just absolutely devastating. And, he was like, what more do you want me to say? And he wasn't saying it to be a dick. He was just saying you could tell he was, Cirelli's this guy, man. And he really trusts Anthony in every single aspect of the game. And the players do too. But Coop, that's his guy. It's one of the big reasons why Coop is where he is in his career, is because of number 71. And when I looked at him, and I was just like, well, I need a little bit more. I just need a little bit more than you're just devastating. And he said, Jay, it was a tough discussion to have. And if Anthony Cirelli can't be Anthony Cirelli and he's not 100%, then he can't go. And he was totally right. And I thanked him, and he said, yeah, he appreciated me asking in that way. It just sucks for Tony. It really does. He's just such a good kid. And, it happens so late, right? You think about it. It's one thing if this happens a month ago, 2 months ago, 6 months ago, like a Barkov injury where it's but this just happened. It just happened. Everybody's excited for the outdoor game. You're having a blast. You're one of the guys that they put up there to speak to the media, and then you get hurt. Oh, my heart goes out to Tony. It really does. But again, this is why Jon Cooper is all class. This is why Coop is one of one. He did not get to a point where he shushed me away. He didn't get to a point where he knew, because I went about it in a way of being respectful of everybody else's time and also respectful of his time. Give me something on Cirelli if you can. And that's just, I'm fortunate to have that relationship with Jon Cooper where he's able to say, and he knows that I'm not going to make shit up. And the other thing is having that etiquette of sometimes it's, who you work with and who you talk to. I know where I stand when it comes to the pecking order of the media in this town, right? Some people don't realize that stuff, but or they don't care to. But for me, I think that kind of stuff is important to understand where you are. You guys know this. One of the worst things in life is people that don't read the room and don't understand, right? I know, and I said this last week when we were talking about some of the Buck stuff. if it's not coming from a Rick Stroud, a Greg Allman, a Scott Reynolds, and Ira Kaufman, Peter Report, Joe Bucksman, and guys like that, I'm not really giving it much credence unless I know the person. For hockey, I know where I stand when, Ed Encina, the guy that's the beat writer for the Tampa Bay Times, the lone newspaper in this town, him and Erik Erlendsson, to me, are the guys that are at the top of the list. Erik's been covering this team as long as anybody. And this is why I have him on the show. They're not only colleagues and guys that know the team and know the game, but I also consider them friends. And I'm so grateful for our relationship. And I put D'Andre Lou up there as well for the hockey news. Like, this is what they do. This is the team that they cover, and the only team that they cover. So you have to cede priority to those guys. And I never, ever want to supersede them or to be able to step on their toes. So last night after I talked to Cooper, the first thing I did was I walked over to Ed Encina and told him what not only just what I did, but also just to give him the information. So he had it. I also went to Chris Kren, one of the PR guys, and told him like, hey, I just grabbed Coop and I wanted to let you know that this is what I did. I'm not that kind of guy. Like, I'm not trying to risk relationship and burn bridges to be some fucking investigative journalist. That's not why I'm doing this. That's not why I'm in this industry. I am a people person. I want to be around people. I want people to feel like I have a good relationship. That's shit. Don't you? I think that's part of the reason why a guy like Jeff Attinella would give me, a shirt like this, and make sure you go to Smack Apparel to go check them out. But I just, at times, I want you to understand, because I think the discussion surrounding Liam Cohen and that Jacksonville reporter, maybe there's a little bit better of an understanding from people that aren't in the media if people talk about the etiquette a little bit more. So that's something that I'm going to fill you guys in on certain things that are, proper or improper. And again, it's not one all end all be all or one blanket kind of statement, but I want to talk about certain things like that. So you guys know that, at times there's a right way to go about things. When I try to get JJ Moser on the show, me and him talk every once in a while on message, but if I'm going to have him on my show, I'm not going to ask him to come on. I'm going to go through the proper channels. And get him on the show, and then it works out. It really does. TBS Hill, hell of a spot on the Lightning this week, finally getting their due on ESPN. I don't know if you guys saw this. Did you see this? Hold on, guys. Just continuing to look and see if there's any Panarin news. Nothing quite yet. Okay, good. All right, nothing yet. Don't know if you guys saw this, but come on, am I gonna be able to? Come on. This is somewhere recent. Does anybody care? Here we go. All right, so don't know if you guys saw this, but this was pretty cool. So this was the other night on SportsCenter. It was one of the last things that was on there. But your boy made it on SportsCenter with my video from Nikita Kucherov. All I did was the video was like 3 minutes long, 3 seconds long. So I just took a screenshot out of both of the comments that he made. And my mom actually was the one that recorded this. So Ma, I love you. But it's every kid's dream when you're a sports fan, when you get into sports media, because that was my first thing. Is I wanted to be a SportsCenter anchor. That was when I first got in this industry, that's what I wanted to do. I did not pursue playing any type of sports in college. I probably could at a lower level, but I really wanted to be in sports broadcasting because I wanted to talk about everything, kind of what I do right now. So the fact that ESPN reached out to me on Monday and asked if I could use my video, it was a really cool moment. And then for my mom to record it and then send it to me and to be able to watch SportsCenter and to see my name in the upper right-hand corner there, I don't take that shit for granted, man. I really don't. It just motivates me to do more and to continue to keep pushing. And for all you guys out there, like all the love and the support, like you're gonna help me continue to grow this whole thing. So thank you, everybody, for all that you do, for being part of this journey with me. It's a beautiful thing. So love you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, let's talk a little Buccaneer football. I love this move, bringing in Chandler Whitmer to coach the quarterbacks. Now, this is a guy at 34, co-offensive coordinator there at Indiana with Fernando Mendoza, and he is reaching an agreement to become the Bucs quarterback coach, replacing Thad Lewis, who was let go last month after 3 seasons. Now, I am looking at it's a fourth new offensive coach to have ties with Zach Robinson, former Falcons assistant TJ Yates, Ken Zampese as well. I love this type of stuff. This is a guy that's played in college. This is a guy, when you look at what the Buccaneers are doing, especially on the offensive side of the ball, right? Let's get that taken care of, and then let's go to the defensive side, okay? Giving Zach Robinson autonomy over what this offensive staff is going to look like is really Todd Bowles' only choice. You have to let this guy do his thing. If you're sitting there and you're meddling into what he's doing and you're micromanaging all these different things, you're not going to let this guy be his best. Now, here's the other thing that not many people are bringing up. We spoke about this with Mike McDaniel because he has experience before. But let's say the Buccaneers offense thrives next year under Zach Robinson. And let's say the defense falters and they move on from Todd Bowles. Could Zach Robinson be the next head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Maybe. You look at all these other guys, and I still think Clint Kubiak is going to be the next coach with the Raiders. But I don't know for sure. But if Zach Robinson can be that guy and really perform at a high level, he has experience calling plays. He's got an opportunity here to show, all right, last year with the Falcons, we did a good job. We brought some of the best out of Kyle Pitts. Now with Baker and some of these other guys, let's take that shit to the next level. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Zach Robinson is that guy. If the Buccaneers have a good year offensively and they want to keep these guys together and they want to build that continuity, I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. I really like getting in new, young offensive minds. And, you know, with Whitmer being there and the experience that he had last year, right? And I know college and pros are different, right? But he's also a guy that's worked in the NFL before with the Chargers and the Falcons. Experience, man, even for a young guy. I think it's the balance of life. Having those guys that are young and they have these innovative ideas and they saw what worked last year at the collegiate level, because a lot of times you see things in college and the next year or two, boom, it goes to the NFL. How long have they been running the RPO in college? We've only seen that. We haven't really seen it all that long in the NFL. So to have a young guy who's got his finger on the pulse, that was part of one of the best offenses in college football last year, it's a step in the right direction. I asked you guys earlier this offense, what is going to make you feel more positive about the Buccaneers going forward? And these are the things. It's building this coaching staff in the right way to make sure that these guys, offensively first, it seems like, are getting back to the point where that they're utilizing all this talent and they're getting to score 28 to 30 points a game. I think the ultimate domino will be the defense. What happens with Todd? Those are the most important decisions. If that works out, then Todd retains his job. He comes back in 2027. If not, see ya. It ain't happening. What's going on, brother? How are you? What's your first name?
My name's Eric.
What's up, Eric? How are you, buddy?
I'm doing good. I've been on your show before.
Yeah, what's up, pal?
What do you know about this Panarin trade from the Rangers? What do you know?
Panarin trade?
What do you know? I heard that the Lightning is the favorites. That's what I've been hearing. What do you know about that?
Yeah, I was thinking about this a little while ago, buddy, because when I'm watching this, I don't necessarily see them as the favorite. I saw one person say that too. I don't agree that he's the favorite.
NHL trade rumors, according to them NHL trade rumors.
Yeah,
according to most reports.
I read that too, and he's really just kind of assuming and speculating. There's not really any new information from him. This is why you got to be careful what you read on social media, and this is why I'm glad, Eric, that you reached out, is because I looked at it before, and I was actually going to put. I don't see the Lightning as the favorites in this deal. I see the Lightning as being part of it. I think they're
You
in the
go all in
discussion,
this year. This
but
is a win now piece.
yeah, I don't think so, man. I don't think so because Panarin's not going to get traded unless he gets an extension.
3:00
And
today.
I don't know.
We got 1 hour and 30 minutes to kick off. 1
You
hour
got
and
that
30
right.
minutes.
1 hour and 30 minutes till the 3:00. And we'll talk to Erik Erlendsson about it in about 5 minutes here too.
Awesome.
But I just don't think Artemi Panarin is such a good fit for the Lightning, man, because I'd rather them pay a guy like Darren Raddysh.
Yeah, I think so too. I like
Yeah.
him better. I
I'm
really
with you,
do.
buddy.
If
All right.
when Hedman comes back, I don't know how they're going to split the minutes.
You're right, buddy. Eric, thanks, buddy. I appreciate the phone
You're
call,
welcome.
man. We'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, buddy. See ya. Good stuff. Eric joining us on the program. Thanks, E. That's great. Thank you so much, Eric, for calling me on the program today. Yeah, I mean, and Victor Hedman the last couple of games, and that's the other thing what we're talking about in this entire situation with Artemi Panarin and Darren Raddysh and Victor Hedman. Listen, when these defensemen start coming back after the break, Dastu and Lilleberg, right? Where are they all going to fit? What happens with Crozier? What happens with Declan Carlisle? We don't know. And for all the people that keep talking about the cap space, oh, well, Julian opened up cap space by putting Braden Point on LTIR. I mean, he's always trying to build cap space. This team hasn't had any of it the last couple of years. So I don't look at that like, oh, that cap space. Now, would they need to if they were going to go out and get Panarin? Yes, of course. But let's not forget that Julien Brisebois is very specific with what he does. But he doesn't just look at one thing. He looks at multiple options, and he uses all 365 days to make this team better. That's what he does. That is what he does. Remember, a couple of years ago, he didn't just go out and get a Barclay Goodrow. He got Barclay Goodrow and Blake Coleman. That was it. Right? He wasn't just stuck on one guy. So I don't look at him and it's like, oh, it's Panarin or nothing. He's going to find a way. So you look at a deal of a 2028 first and a Connor Geekie and a Sam O'Reilly. Like, here's the other thing. This team has not been able to build at all with any type of young guys, with any type of draft picks throughout the year. So now you're telling me that you're going to take all of the capital that you just got, all of it, the O'Reilly kid that you got in the deal for Isaac Howard, the Geeky where you got in the deal for Mikhail Sergachev, the first round pick. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know if this makes sense for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Artemi Panarin is 34 years old. He's not even 31. He's not 32. He's 34. And again, I love Bread. I love the guy. I love watching him play. He is so freaking smart. Would I love to watch him? Listen, I think I might even be okay with this if it was a rental, but it's not going to be a rental. You're going to have to invest. He wants an extension. He wants 30 or 40 million. Are you going to pay Artemi Panarin? Think about it. If he wants $40 million, you're giving him what? $8 million over 5? So until he's 39? No. You're giving him $5 million for the next 8 until he's 42? Come on, man. That ain't happening. That ain't happening. I just, again, I keep saying it ain't happening, but watch it happen. That's the way it goes. Just announce the deal with like Dallas or Washington. I think those two guys. Don't be surprised. He wants to be in a, for a contender. Dallas, Carolina, Washington. It ain't going to be the Panthers or I just don't think it'll be the Panthers or the Lightning. Dallas makes sense. Dallas, they also have that no state income tax as well. Go play with the Stars. They need another guy with Mikko Rantanen, Robertson, Hintz, and those guys. The Capitals make a lot of sense. They can go there. They can pay the guy. He can play with OV for his last however long Ovi's going to play. But if Panarin gets traded to the Lightning, here, let me preface this before we bring in our guy Erik Erlendsson. For this whole thing, I don't think it's a good fit for the Tampa Bay Lightning, bringing in Artemi Panarin. Okay. But with that being said, if he does get traded here and Julian thinks it makes sense, I will 100% support it. 100%. He's one of my favorite players in the league. Again, I have his. I'm going to get it. Are we back? You guys hear me now? It seemed like my mic was unplugged, but I think it's back in. Let me know if you can hear me again. Are we good? Come on, Benny, help me out. All right. So a couple years ago, I got this right here. Panarin. Okay. He's one of my favorite players. I don't really wear it that much. Really at all. That's a home hoodie. Because if I had to choose between the two, it would definitely be the Lightning over the Rangers now. I can't believe I'm saying that. But I just, again, the more and more I think about it, I just don't know. I really don't. All right. We will bring him in. He is the man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Erik Erlendsson, LightningInsider.com. What's up, buddy? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? What's going on?
I'm good. Hold on. There you go. Now we're cooking. I unplugged the mic by accident, trying to get my Panarin hoodie. I can't wear it out. I can't wear it outside. Everybody would kill me. So let's get right into the Panarin stuff too, because I've been talking about this a lot. I know that the Rangers want to move him by 3:00. I really do. But the more and more I think about this, right? And again, I love Panarin. That's my guy, man. I freaking love the guy. He's 34 years old. He's 34 years old. And he wants to sign an extension. He wants 40 mil or whatever the hell it is. And I was having this conversation with Phil last night. The most important thing for the Lightning from last year to this year was what? To be tougher to play against. And I don't know if Artemi Panarin fits that mold. He makes him more talented. I don't know if he fits that mold of being tougher to play against. Coop loves having Kucherov being able to be free to go play with Point and Gensel at times, and then go to Hagel and Cirelli at times. And I worry that if they bring in a Panarin, they're going to try to shoehorn Point, Kucherov, and Panarin, and that kind of just brings you back to the issue that they had with Steven Stamkos. And Panarin doesn't give you the ability to win draws. So that's what worries me, is that you look at this team, and I get what he would help you in certain areas, especially offensively. But you're also looking at a new kind of power play with a Darren Raddysh, where they're not feeding the guy in the office anymore. And if you tell me who would you rather have over the next 3 or 4 years, would it be a Darren Raddysh or an Artemi Panarin? I think it's crazy that, now we're talking about that, but it might be a Darren Raddysh as a top defender rather than a guy like Artemi Panarin, where I don't know if he's going to be able to fit that mold with tough to play against. What's your whole take on the bread man to the Bay Area?
I think he wants to be here more than they want him.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of levels it doesn't make sense for Tampa Bay, right? Obviously, there's the connection between him and Kucherov, right? That's what everybody kind of draws to, and the appeal, and obviously the Lightning are among the top teams in the league again this year. He wants to go to a team that has a chance to win, and let's face it, what better places are there right now than Tampa with the weather, Sunday's game notwithstanding. The tax situation, the team, the franchise, like there's so many attractive things for players that want to come here. But then you start to, like you just mentioned, where would he fit?
Mm-hmm.
And the bigger question is, where does he fit under a salary cap that we know is already restrained, and the assets you would have to give up to bring him in? There's a lot of things that just don't make sense to me that this would be something that they would look at. And you know, given Julian's track record as well, he doesn't go big game hunting.
No,
right?
he doesn't.
It's the Blake Colemans, it's the Barclay Goodrows, it's the David Savards, you know, the Brandon Hagels that he brings in at the deadline. And so for that reason alone, there's just a lot of people want to connect the dots. I don't think the dots are connecting from my perspective on this situation. I just, it doesn't make sense to me on numerous levels.
Yeah, I'm with you. And then here's the other thing. I don't know. It's just, you look at this entire situation of, you finally got some young guys. You got O'Reilly, you got Geeky. You may even have a first round pick in a couple years, and then you're going to mortgage it for a 34-year-old winger. Like, I just don't know how that makes sense.
Yeah, and don't forget, a lot of people aren't talking about it, but the kid they drafted last year, you know, the Finnish kid who's playing in Sweden this year, setting all kinds of records for 20-year-olds. Ratanainen, I think his name is.
Yeah.
I probably butchered the hell out of it, but
yeah, Ratanainen.
Yeah, like he's having a historic type of season. You know, the numbers that he's putting up, you know, they're being compared to Saku Koivu, right?
Yes.
That's how good of a season he's having over there as an overage draft pick. And we would talk about the success of the scouting teams, the Lightning scouts. And here's another one they found that was undrafted for 2 years. They find him, and all of a sudden, bang! He's playing so well in the Swedish league. So they have a lot of assets that they haven't had in a while. And yeah, it would have to cost you at least one of those guys. They don't even have a first round draft pick for the next 2 years as it is. And to me, it doesn't make sense to even consider it for a 34-year-old who I'm not 100% sure helps you win a cup this year. Right. And that's, if there's any deals that Julian's looking for, it's going to be what can I bring in of value that's going to help my team give them the best chance to win a Stanley Cup this year. And Panarin's an ultra talented player. He is. There's no denying the talent that guy has. I just don't see where he fits in on this team that makes you significantly better. You know, to give you a chance to win a cup this year. Great player. I don't know if he's a great fit.
I'm with you, buddy. And it hurts me to say it. It really does, because I'm such a big fan of the guy. And it's, you know, it's like talking smack about one of my own kids. But I will go to Washington, play with Ovechkin, the Russian fit there. Texas, you know, Dallas with the no state income tax, play with Rantanen. You know, the Panthers, I didn't think it was a fit for the Panthers either. You know, they got to figure out what the hell they're trying to do with all their
cap
guys
issues.
Too. They have cap issues. You know, they've been getting rid of guys left and right as well. And then here's the other thing. E is like, again, I brought it up. I keep coming back to this. I just don't see how Darren Raddysh doesn't come back next year. Like, he's become such a huge part of this team. Like, he is, and I said it, he's like, he's woven into the fabric of what this new Lightning squad is all about. He's become one of the heart and soul guys. He's doing TV interviews, and I know that's not the end all be all, but like, he's talking after wins. He's talking after losses. He's a guy that's scoring huge goals. He's a guy that's playing with Nikita Kucherov, who many people think could be the front runner for the MVP right now. I get he's in line for that life-changing contract that Julian Brisebois told us. I just don't know how he's watching. Like, JBB doesn't watch this and go, all right, we really got to, like, what can we do? We got to start crunching the numbers. What can we you finally figured out what this power play can do, right? You eliminated the office thing with Stamkos trying to put a guy over there. Now you're feeding the guy at the top, right? And we've seen the Al McInnes type of power play. Has it changed? And it's hard not to get sentimental and hard not to be the prisoner of the moment, E, but man, you watched last night and he just seems like such an integral part of not where this team is at right now, but he seems like a guy, especially you just signed JJ Moser, that you kind of want to see what this can do for the next couple of years.
Yeah, you know, that's totally understandable. You know, I can certainly understand Julian's point of view, right? Because, I mean, let's face it, he was the guy that was the odd man out at the beginning of the year. We were talking about, boy, if I'm Darren Raddysh, I'm concerned about my spot in this lineup,
engaged.
right? Yeah, like he was, his decision making kind of was coming into question, and his defending has never been a strength of his game. He's always had that big shot, and the offensive numbers have always been there, but now he's put it all together. And when you again looking at it from Julian's perspective, if you're not careful, Darren Raddysh is a cap killer.
Yeah.
Right. Because what happens if, and I'm not saying he is, and maybe he's discovered himself, and I think in a lot of ways he's right. Found it, right? Especially now with McDonough and Hedman back for the past couple of games. Moser and Raddysh have stayed together, right? They're not breaking up that pair, and he has unlocked the power play. Well, I mean, Nikita Kucherov's ability to set him up has unlocked the power play, and that's why he's able to score so many goals, because he has that guy feeding him pucks. And he said it last night that Kucherov makes his job easy, right? He just has to bomb it. And look, the biggest difference with Darren in terms of the goal scoring this year is those pucks are going on net.
Yeah.
Right. In years past, they would miss the net. Right now, he's putting them on target, and he's worked on it. He has definitely worked on it, and especially this year as the opportunities presented themselves with all the injuries they had on the back end in the beginning part of the season, he took advantage of it. So, but that's where you have to be careful if you're, like, it's not the best comparison, but I'm going to kind of give you an example. When Vlad Nemestikov was here. Mm-hmm. Right. He was playing with Kucherov and Stamkos quite a bit. Right. We called them the Stamkov line. Right. Mm-hmm. And Vladdy was putting up pretty good offensive numbers, but he's not a high end offensive player.
Right.
So, if you gave him a contract based on his numbers, it could be a cap killing type of contract. And that's where I think Julian is coming from when trying to, figure out where this fits in the dynamic of the team moving forward. Because Darren Raddysh is not a 24-year-old defenseman, right? He found his groove later in his career. So it's going to be interesting to kind of keep track, because life-changing contract for a guy like Raddysh, who's been basically a career minor leaguer, and what's he making? Just over $1 million this year. Like $1 million is still a lot of money, right? But where does life-changing money become, an overpayment? And that's, I think that's what Julian kind of has to weigh. And, you've seen the emergence of Declan Carlisle this year, and you've seen the emergence of Max Crozier this year. And, you've got Max Groshev, down in the minors. You've got guys that, you have a lot more depth on the back end than you had before. So it's going to be Dastu. Yeah. Dastu is kind of the new Raddysh in some ways, right? Yeah. Guy that was put up great offensive numbers through his career at other levels, and finally getting his chance to play in the NHL. So, it's going to be a tough decision no matter which way they go, right? Whether they re-sign him and find a way to keep him under contract and give him some of that money, or he hits the open market. And if I'm his agent, I'm hitting the open market, right? He might hit 20 goals this year, right? He might hit 60 points this year, right? Like, so, if I'm his agent, I'm hitting the open market, because I don't know if the Lightning can pay what he'll make in the open market. And that's kind of what you have to weigh if you're Darren Raddysh as well. But then also, no other team has Nikita Kucherov, right? Exactly. And Kuch is 32, and like they're actually not that far off in age. So yeah, there's a lot of things to kind of consider when you're talking about beyond this season for Darren Raddysh. I think what we will certainly see is Darren Raddysh is not going to be moved. Trade deadline, right? Did conversations earlier this year. Well, his trade value will never be higher, but you're trying to win a cup.
Yeah.
And Darren Raddysh right now, especially with the way he's playing, gives you a chance to win a cup.
Yeah, it almost seems like maybe like the Brandon Montour, the Mackenzie Weegar kind of thing, and with Florida, right? The last couple of years, how they have to just kept moving on from guys and moving on from defensemen to right-handed shots, and hopefully it doesn't end up being like that with a guy like Darren Raddysh, but we'll see. I was just talking about like etiquette for press conferences and stuff because of the whole thing with the Jacksonville Reporter and Liam Cohen and me asking about Anthony Cirelli after the press conference last night, and then going up and letting you guys know that that's what I did because of the respect that I have for you guys, you and Ed specifically. But when you have a conversation like that, like I did last night, it becomes more personal, I think, than professional, because you feel like Coop, when he said it to me, he's like devastated. Everybody's devastated. And when you cover a guy like you do with Anthony Cirelli, and you know the relationship he has with Jon Cooper, like it's awfully tough, isn't it, to see a guy like that get his dreams like yanked away so late in the process. It's one thing if it happens a month ago, 2 weeks ago, but I mean, geez, man, he was healthy on Saturday, and now he's not going to be representing this country. Just an absolutely terrible story for one of the really fan favorites here for the Bolts.
Yeah, an important player. There's a reason why he was picked for Team Canada, right? And it's not because Jon Cooper is a head coach. It doesn't hurt, but it's not because of who the coach of Canada is. I mean, we know the talents that Anthony Cirelli has, and sure, he's not a 30-goal scorer, but he's going to prevent 30 goals from being scored.
Yeah,
right? That's the kind of a player that he is. And, like, as we know, especially now, these opportunities don't come around very often.
Right.
I mean, it's been 12 years since the NHL last, stopped their season to allow NHLers. Now, they were supposed to go in 22, and we all know what happened with the COVID situation there. But yeah, I mean, Anthony Cirelli may not get this opportunity again. It's just the nature of the game. Now if Canada goes on to win gold and, they talk about bringing Coop back for the next cycle, that's certainly a possibility.
Right.
But, you don't know where players are going to be in 4 years. You don't know where they're going to be at, especially him. He takes a lot of punishment, right? So this latest injury, that's not the only thing he's been dealing with all year. He's been knocked around quite a bit because that's just the type of game that he plays. So yeah, it's tough, from a personal standpoint to see that taken away from him. Through no fault of his own, and really no fault through Mark Kastelik either. Right? That was not a bad hit. It was just an unfortunate hit that just went south for Anthony Cirelli. And I mean, the good news is from a Lightning standpoint, if something like this was going to happen to him, he does have time to rest and recover and get ready for the stretch run, because if anybody's looked at the schedule that's coming up post-Olympics, it's going to be a tough ride for the Lightning all the way through the end of the regular season. So, but it's tough to see that taken away. Just like with Steven Stamkos in 2014. Now, obviously, much different circumstance. He was trying to come back from that broken leg, and his first game back that year in 14 was actually the first game post-Olympics. So he was that close, having been named to the team and not able to play. Right. So we've certainly seen it happen around here, and Steven Stamkos will not get that opportunity ever again. Right. That's one of the things that is he was robbed in his career, is not having the opportunity to represent his country on the Olympic stage. So it's tough when you're one of those players that, as you mentioned, so close to it. I mean, less than a week from leaving. Right. There's a charter that's heading out Friday that they're all going to head over to Europe and, prepare for the games that start in a little over a week. So it's tough to see that for guys like Anthony.
What was the big thing today? Obviously, there was a lot of people that weren't practicing, but what were some of the big storylines from the arena?
So, the big guys, Andrei Vasilevsky, Jake Guentzel, Brandon Hagel, and Nikita Kucherov, none of them practiced today for maintenance purposes, for rest. And, you look at a guy like, Guentzel, who was thrown into the center position, a position he hasn't really played at the NHL level. He was a center in college, but he hasn't really played it at the NHL level. He gets thrust into it. He played 26 minutes last night, I think. Jesus, right? Like 20, yeah. Like I think he played 18 or 19 at even strength, and then he's got 4 minutes on the penalty kill. He's got 4 minutes on the power play. He's out there in overtime, obviously scoring the game-winning goal. I kind of joked with Coop as he was walking away. I said, "Is there any truth to the rumor that you're trying to wear down Guentzel because of the Olympics?" And he just he said, "That's a good line. I'll have to use that one." But yeah, I mean, that was the big thing is those guys not on the ice today, and obviously the opponent tomorrow, right? Like,
oh boy,
what do we see tomorrow? Florida's got a game tonight. They are desperate for points. They have to play a hockey game tomorrow night because they need the points because they're falling, off the wayside. They've lost, I think, 3 or 4 in a row going into tonight's game against Boston. So like the Lightning have a chance to not necessarily bury the Panthers, but shove them down, right? Shove them back down the standings, especially if the Bruins can beat them tonight in regulation. That's the big question. How does tomorrow night's game unfold, right? Is it going to be a no-hitter, right? Because a lot of guys on both teams are going to the Olympics. Is that going to be a no-hitter situation? I don't think so, just because of, where they're at with these two teams. I mean, look, we talked to Dan Highnote today, and he came out and said it. He said, we hate them and they hate us, right? Like that's kind of how this rivalry has certainly unfolded based on the last couple of years, based on everything we saw in preseason. So that's kind of the big thing coming out of today is what does tomorrow look like? It's a rivalry, but it's also the last game before the Olympic break. The Lightning now have 9 players who are going to be heading to Italy. I know that the Panthers have a handful of players of their own. They're going to head over there. So how does some of those players approach this game? That's going to be the fascinating thing for me to kind of watch unfold tomorrow. Is do both these teams look at it as a rivalry game, or do both teams say, hey, I don't want to be Anthony Cirelli and get hurt right before going to the Olympics? So there's a lot of things to kind of keep an eye on tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I wonder if the Lightning make any they have some more cap space. I wonder if they make any call-ups, right? Do they make any call-ups and maybe like if you told me that Brandon Hagel was being held out of that game tomorrow night, I wouldn't be surprised at all. If you call up a Dylan Duke or call up one of these other guys, Sabrin's already here, Douglas is already here, Jack Finley's going to play. I wouldn't be surprised if they held the guy out like that. Do you anticipate any roster moves?
I don't. Roster freeze goes into effect at 3:00 today.
Oh, well, never mind then.
But you can still call guys up. I don't think guys can get sent back to you have to. And I'm going to check this right now because you would have to put somebody on injured reserve to make a call up because they don't have any roster spots. And they don't have a ton of cap space either, as we know. Julian kind of laid that out for us last month in it. So nobody knew on injured reserve right now. So that would have to kind of be the situation.
Could you put Nick Paul on there?
You could, yeah. I mean, you could put Paul and Cirelli both on IR if you had to open up a roster spot. So it could happen. And again, like just like the holiday freeze, you can call players up. Mm-hmm. You can use the emergency basis and everything like that to kind of make those things because they only have one healthy body right now. That's Max Crozier, who was the only healthy scratch in last night's game. The thing for me with Hagel, okay, yeah, like I look, they've done it, right? They held him out of the game in December when the two teams last met. But I think in this situation, I don't think you hold him out because if you hold out Brandon Hagel tomorrow because you're worried about the Panthers going after him, which is a legitimate concern because they've done it in the last 3 times they played him, right? But if you purposely hold him out, you look like you're running scared. And this organization does not give me the sense, and Hagel does not give me the sense that he's a player that would run and hide from this. Right now, I don't want to see him dropping the gloves with anybody tomorrow. He's too valuable and too important to this team. But you have other guys. You can have other guys that can take care of that if they need to. And the thing with Hagel too is like sometimes you do have to save him from himself because he's so passionate about what he does. But to me, I don't think that you look at tomorrow night's game and say, yeah, we're going to hold him out because we're afraid he might get hurt. I think that just sends the kind of message you don't want to send. So I don't anticipate guys coming up. I mean, you've already got Sabrin here, right? Douglas played last night. That trio in limited ice time played pretty well. The Douglas penalty in the third period notwithstanding. But you look at how much time they spent in the offensive zone. Jack Finley had another breakaway opportunity. Sabrin had a couple of chances, right? Like, so they when they were together earlier in the year for a few games, they were pretty productive in the way that they would keep the puck in the offensive zone so they can play. Right. So I don't see anything really changing. I'm pretty confident the lineup we saw last night against Buffalo will be the same lineup that we see tomorrow against the Florida Panthers.
It's funny. I just saw somebody with their first letter of their name A get traded to Washington. I thought it was Artemi Panarin, but it was Anthony Davis in the NBA. I was like, oh shit! Oh, no, that's not it. What do we have up on lightninginsider.com, man?
Oh man, the recap from Sunday's game, which is still creating a buzz, right?
Yeah,
I'm impressed by how the team last night was able to put the emotions of that game behind them, and it's not easy, right? It's not easy. I know Buffalo was coming off of a back-to-back. I think the Lightning had a more difficult time putting their most recent game behind them, more so than Buffalo did.
Right.
So I mean, that's up there, kind of getting back on that one. Last night, again, a team that every time they're handed something, like I made the analogy, they're the student that's set up to fail that aces the test, right? That's just kind of the way this team is built right now. Losing Cirelli, losing Paul, both guys are obviously out tomorrow night, and they'll be reevaluated as we move forward. Looking ahead to the post-Olympic situation. So just kind of, getting a feel for how that team last night and this team in general is able to kind of just shrug things off. It's a trait that's not easy to develop, right? I mean, look what the Panthers are going through, right? They've had similar injuries to similar type of players and similar players of importance to their team. Now, Barkov is a different situation. He was hurt in camp. He's probably going to miss the entire regular season. But they have not had the success filling in for the guys that they've been without, right? Whereas the Lightning have. Like, again, if you'd have told anybody that you were going to miss Ryan McDonough, Victor Hedman, and Erik Erlendsson all at the same time for a month plus, and all three of those guys would be out of the lineup, you would say, man, they're going to be in trouble, right? If they're losing Braden Point, for the amount of time that they've lost, Braden. You're like, they're in trouble, and they've just found ways to get through it. So that's just kind of the way last night's game developed. So that's up there now, and we'll see what happens over the Olympic break. I might do a little hockey coverage from afar on the site, depending on what the honey-do list looks like over the next couple of weeks and how much time I get to zero in on the Olympics and everything else. So a lot of good stuff, obviously, and a lot more good stuff coming with this team, and as we look towards March and into April.
The honey-do list from the Erlendsson household is long and thorough, and it has nothing to do with going to buy more spoons for the collection. That's for sure. The great Erik Erlendsson, Erik_Erlendsson. That's a K, not a C. 2 S's after the D on Twitter/X. Make sure you go to lightninginsider.com. We are in the midst of an incredible season, so make sure you go to lightninginsider.com. Use that promo code JNZ, $10 off, not just this year, but every recurring season. Double E, you're the man, brother. I appreciate you. I'll see you tomorrow at the arena.
All right, sounds good. Be well.
All right, buddy. The great Erik Erlendsson joins us every Wednesday here on the program on the Recher podcast. Man, so many viewers today. Look at this. Over 290 total. Man, just unbelievable, you guys. And look at Richard Head. Great name. Double E has the best coverage of the Lightning. I love Lightning Insider. You got that right. I know this is probably a joke, Richard Head. My dad actually went to school with a guy named Richard Head, named his son Richard Head Jr. Why the hell would you name your kid Dick Head Jr.? I think it's just the way it goes. If you had to go through it, then I guess your son does too. I didn't believe my dad for years until he showed me his high school yearbook. So I was like, damn, you're right. Karen's in the house. What's going on, girl? Good to see you as always. All right, guys and gals, that's going to wrap it up for me. We got the Bagels and Recher podcast coming up live from the Dignitary Cafe here in a little bit. So make sure you keep it locked right here to the channel. Ian and I will talk about a bunch of different things, and we'll be live between 2:30, 3 o'clock. I know our good pal Chris Johnson said earlier on TSN that the Capitals have put forward a big offer for Artemi Panarin. The goal is to have him traded by 3 o'clock today when the roster frees. But it doesn't mean that if he doesn't get traded by then, that he won't get traded at all before the trade deadline, which is a couple weeks after everybody returns from the Olympics. So just something to keep in your mind when we're discussing the whole Artemi Panarin deal. All right, follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Double E, a big thanks to him for joining the program. A big thank you to Bryan Hodgson as well for joining the program. USF in action tonight against UTSA. Go USFBulls.com. Go get your tickets right now. A big thank you to Honest Hammer Custom Builders, LLC, as well as Ever Health, our injury report with Dr. Rodriguez mañana at 12:30. So you do not want to miss that. Happy Sports and Girls and Sports and Women's Day. So grateful for all the wonderful women that we have working in the sports world, including our friends like Deandra Liu and Gabby Shirley and Julie Stewart-Binks and Trisha Whitaker and Carmen Vitale and everybody that we've had here on the show. Could not do this without you guys. Jackie Redmond, we love you all. We will celebrate the Women International Women's Day, March 8th, right here on the show. That's the day that I give to the women, and we'll do it on Friday, March 8th. That is for sure. All right, guys and gals, I love you. What a show today. I was excited. You guys brought the heat. I brought the heat. We'll see what happens with Artemi Panarin. 60 minutes to go. We'll see if he stays in the Big Apple or he moves to somewhere else. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Back at Benchmark International Arena tomorrow. Lightning and Panthers. Oh, that game. That could be a good one. Hopefully you guys will be in the building. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Back at the arena tomorrow at noon right here on the Jay Recher Podcast.